Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the podcast Strikes Back. My name is George and you're listening to the weekly movie show with the boys Connor.
Hello.
Benny.
Hi there.
We got some trailers, we got some news. This is your one-stop shop for movie antics. Let's get into it. What's up?
One-stop shop.
One-stop shop, bro.
I love how you're trying out new
all the
taglines.
trailers, all the news, and an awesome question. It's going to be fun. Hey, thanks for everyone for tuning in on Facebook this weekend for our Infinity War commentary. That was good fun. We have...
For 8/10 of it.
For 8/10?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Few technical issues here and there.
We've got the full version coming up on Bandcamp and on the podcast channel as well as YouTube soon. So stay tuned. Give us a little bit of time to sort that out. But first, let's catch up on what everyone's been watching. I'm going to go first. Fuck you guys.
Wow.
No, that's a good call because I haven't even thought about what I've watched this week.
Chucked on... I was like Friday night, just feeling really spent after the 9 to 5 grind, and decided to chuck on Baywatch, 2017's Baywatch, starring our boy Dwayne and Zac Efron. Kind of hit everything that I needed it to hit in terms of sort of complete veg out, complete nonsensical, mindless crap. There were some really funny moments in there, and the production quality was so bad in spots that it made it amazing, Like some of the smoke, some of the fire effects, it was so terrible, but I love that kind of stuff. I get a kick out of it.
It was a real throwback to like more of the Ben Stiller kind of comedies.
Totally.
That shit.
Totally. And just like kind of by the end, I kind of like all these characters, and there was some solid stuff in there. I would never recommend it to anyone, other than if you're in that particular headspace.
I found that like one of the things that I took away from that is that I am terribly unfit because Zac Efron and The Rock are both like unbelievably fit.
It's distressing.
It's distressing or distracting?
Distressing and distracting.
I was going to say both, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, Zac Efron, but Zac Efron's like, he's getting to that age where he's like, yeah, you're getting on, bro. You're getting on, man.
How much older are you than he is, actually?
He's 3 years older than me.
Is he really?
Yeah.
He looks way better than you.
Does he? I think he's looking old, man. I was like, that was the first time where he's gone from, he's like the High School Musical kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he looked like a child during that.
Yeah, it's this weird. He's going through teething issues. It's all right, Zach. Give me a call.
Like some jealousy or something.
No, I've always been
real bad.
I've actually been always one of these guys.
He's at least like 30% more rep than you, so you should
maybe 30% less. We'll see. I've always been one of those guys that's thought, why isn't he bigger than he is? Why is he doing this shit like Bad Grandpa with Robert De Niro and or Dirty Grandpa and Baywatch? Like, he's actually got some really good acting chops.
He heard you say that, but he misheard it. He had misunderstood it. That's why he started taking all the steroids, because he thought he had to get bigger.
Yeah.
I kind of get what you're saying though. Like I've always been relatively impressed with whenever he kind of does a slight foray into dramatic work. I've always thought he's been really good. I think, but to be honest, I think his comedic timing is really good. Him in Bad Neighbors and even in Bad Grandpa, that movie was all sorts of things.
Yeah, I didn't see that one.
I've always found it was weird to watch. But I've always found Zac Efron to be, pretty good in everything.
I find him utterly hilarious. I don't know what it is. Yeah. His reactions to anything. I mean, like what Mike and Dave Need Wedding Dates, whatever that's called.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I think that movie's funny.
Yeah.
I love the line as well when The Rock goes, hey, High School Musical. I'm just like, oh god, this is so good.
How about the Hasselhoff cameo?
Oh, amazing. The Pamela Anderson cameo as well was decidedly odd and very short, even though she was quite heavily billed at the beginning of the movie, it seemed.
Yeah.
Anyway, what else did I watch? Pet Sematary. Went to watch Pet Sematary.
I also did this.
With Benji.
Yes, yep.
Didn't meet you at the bar.
Nope.
I just ran into the cinema.
That was one of the, honestly, before we even looked at the message, we both looked at each other and we're like, he's definitely gone to the cinema. Like there's no chance that he's actually read the message that we're in the bar.
Well, number one, I thought it was the session was at 9:20 and it was 9:10 and the movie had already started. So I was like, fuck it, I'll meet you in there, man.
So your being late made me late as well. Because you told me it was 9:20.
Yeah.
So I was having a drink in the bar, having a chat with Connor. Right while the movie was playing.
You know what's so weird is if you
So casually.
if you get the session times through Google, it doesn't match the website.
Yes.
And I'm like,
Don't trust Google.
the fuck?
Yeah.
I'm not going to go to the website.
You got to pay extra for that.
Yeah.
So I was quite hyped for Pet Sematary because I've got a bit
really
of history
were, yeah.
for the with the old one.
I had a not inconsiderable conversation with you. I said, check your expectations, Georgie, before we went to see it.
Yeah. So what did you think, man? What was your sort of big takeaways?
My takeaway was I was way too drunk after watching Shazam with Connor.
That's true, actually. You were hitting them pretty hard.
Look, people kept giving me free drinks. It was weird, but it was. I thought it was decent. There were some low points in production value that were very brief and don't really hinder the thing as a whole. And I really can't tell if it wasn't that scary or if I was that drunk. I think there was a subplot in it that was really creepy.
The mum?
The sister. That's the one you're talking about, yeah.
Yeah.
And there, I got to be honest, the other night I came home after work, like midnight, and I was going through like the dark laundry in my building, and I started thinking of the little girl in Pet Sematary, and I kind of had to run back to my apartment. I'm like, oh, that's got a real slow burn of a scare. I finally sobered up 3 days later, and it's caught up
I kind
to
of
me.
just wanted that to focus on that story more because that was the really interesting stuff.
My biggest takeaway was I was shocked that it wasn't 20 minutes longer than it was. Because I haven't seen the original, I've read the book, and it really ended a lot quicker than I expected because it seeded some stuff early on that I thought was going to be a bigger part of the film, and I was a little disappointed with that. But I really do think it was kind of decently solid.
I thought it was a real solid horror film that didn't do anything particularly special other than that stuff with the mum, and it was very by the numbers. And for somebody who maybe if I watch the old Pet Sematary again, I will have a very different viewing of it. But the first time I saw that, it was very, very disturbing.
I can't wait to watch the original. Let you know what I think of it.
I imagine it probably won't be. I imagine you'll probably see it and you'll be like, what the fuck are you talking about, man? But in that moment that I saw it, it really had an effect on me. And this one didn't have that same effect. So it was slightly disappointing, but overall solid.
I will say that the lead actor, Australia's own Jason Clarke.
Jace.
I forget that he's Aussie.
I forget that he's exists. I don't dislike him. I don't get why he gets so many big roles necessarily.
He's got a big head.
He's got a very big...
I've got a big head as well, so I'm like, I love you, man. Like, repping the big heads.
I've never seen him be a great actor. He's kind of odd looking.
He is. He's got a big chin.
He's weird. It kind of looks like a prosthetic face.
What is that?
Actually,
You just guys slamming Jason Clarke.
I'm saying I'm not trying to slay him. I'm not saying
this.
I like Jason Clarke. It's him. I'm kind of backing up his point. But I like him.
There's nothing.
You're the one that brought up he had a big head. Like,
Yeah.
First thing he does,
Repping the
dude
big
has a
heads.
head.
There's nothing in particular wrong with him except for his head. But
There's nothing worse than saying there's nothing really wrong with someone.
but I don't see what the appeal is because he has a lot of high profile gigs. For like just some kind of random Australian guy.
I reckon he's got to just be one of those guys that's a consistent worker and just kind of.
We've lost George.
Yeah,
I almost didn't notice that somehow. He's under the table right now.
What is he doing?
Oh, coming in hot, Connor. Chill out, man.
Yeah, we're
Okay.
good. We're good.
All right.
Yeah. Anyway.
Cool.
All right. Well, let's.
And then we also watched Shazam. So review coming up.
Oh shit! I forgot
Go
to
check
watch
it.
Shazam. Yes.
Or remember Shazam.
So
That's me done.
That segues into me. Pet Sematary is my big film of the week, other than Shazam. Otherwise, I've just watched a few episodes of Broad City over the past couple of days. Gone back to season 1.
What is?
Broad City
City.
sitcom. Yeah.
Broad City.
2 girls in New York. It's hugely popular in certain circles. I don't know. I was talking to someone yesterday who'd never heard of it. It really surprised me.
Yeah, I've never heard of it.
I think it just wrapped up its 4-season run last year. It is absolutely terrific. It's like a really solid sitcom starring these two leads, Ilana Glazer and Abby Jacobson, who are like infectiously watchable. It's so good. If you haven't heard of it, check it out. And I also checked out
On Netflix?
Stan, actually.
What?
Yeah.
Cool.
Stan's library is fucking amazing right now. It destroys Netflix.
You've gone from the you used to slam Stan.
Oh, he slams Stan all the time.
You both do.
I severely dislike Stan's UI.
I know you're always on about it. I got rid of Stan because I didn't have any reason to have both, and one of them had the Marvel Netflix shows on it. But I'm using someone else's account now, and the library's amazing. It's got all the Marvel stuff, all the Disney stuff. It's fucking phenomenal at the moment. Stan, send me some money. And I also checked out this thing, one of the Marvel one-shot, the little short films they used to make. This was the last one they made, I think, 2014. It's an Iron Man 3 short film written and directed by Drew Pearce, the writer of Iron Man 3, called All Hail the King. It's about Trevor Slattery, Ben Kingsley's character, in Seagate Prison after the events of Iron Man 3.
Nice.
It is amazing. It is absolutely
Sounds really cool.
It's one of my favorite Marvel things ever. If you're one of the people who were absolutely repulsed by the twist in Iron Man 3 and think the Trevor Slattery Mandarin character is the worst thing that happened in the MCU, maybe not for you. I'd still say give it a go because it's only like 10 minutes long. But for me, who loves Iron Man 3, it is phenomenal. You guys haven't seen this?
No.
You need to check it out. It's on YouTube right now. I don't know
Cool.
how long it'll be there, but All Hail the King, it is so...
Is this previously unreleased?
No, it was on the
On the
Thor
Blu-ray.
Dark World Blu-ray, I think.
Yeah, cool.
And it's just so funny, and it addresses some really interesting plot stuff from Iron Man 3 and has some really fun little cameos in it. So well worth watching. And that's me.
Nice one.
Mm.
Justified.
Honestly, yeah, that's it. Fuck. Well, I mean, when I think about it, just watching that's like 3 movies in a season. And I've got, 2 episodes left in the last season?
How many minutes per episode? Is it an hour long?
60-minute episodes. So, and they're like 18 or 13 to 18 episode seasons. So, like, it's I've watched more movies than you, good sir. No, I'm on the final stretch of Justified. It is, I mean, I love a good charge through seasons as much as anyone, but...
Much more than most people, I would say.
Yeah, but this is. I'm kind of glad that's
Wrapping
coming
up.
to an abrupt end.
Is it fatigue or is there a dip in
It's
quality?
fatigue. No, it's fatigue. The quality I think is great.
Yeah,
just need to
it's
mix
just
it up.
It is just fatigue, which means I kind of midweek I did mix it up because after the release of the Borderlands 3 trailer last week, I decided to get the I guess newer versions of Borderlands 2 and Borderlands pre-sequel. And I started playing Borderlands 2.
What a gamer.
Nerd.
Yeah, right? Yeah, no, I just felt like time. I still really love this game. It's got to be 6+ years old, probably. And it still holds up to the quality that I remember it having. There's a lot of games that you'll go back to that you're like, oh, like either the mechanics are like horrifically outdated
Not
or...
Nintendo.
Mm.
Actually, over Christmas, I spent probably a full day. A friend of mine had like all these old Nintendo games, and I played the original Mario Kart.
On Super Nintendo?
Yes.
Or Nintendo 64?
No, Super Nintendo. It's
Nice.
with the really like
Yeah.
shit. Like he had like this retro pack or something like that.
Mm.
I mean,
That one's a week out, man, because it's 2D.
dude. It is fucking weird to play, but honestly, I've never had so much fun. We were playing that battle thing with the
balloons.
and shit.
Yeah.
Like playing that in that old style, it was difficult, but God, it was so much fun. But yeah, look, I went and revisited Borderlands, and honestly, it speaks to the quality of that game that really nothing stood out as being outdated. Like the mechanics are still on point. The writing in the story is awesome. Yeah, love that game. So
Nice one.
very excited for Borderlands 3.
Have some news.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Wow, this is
Fuck
like
yeah.
the shortest intro in about a month.
Yeah. Well,
Only about half an hour in, and then we get
I
to
was
the news.
scraping. So
Yeah.
I cut out my 40-minute segment this week. So, alrighty. First up, I got a bunch of Marvel news. Number one, Hellboy and Stranger Things' David Harbour has joined Marvel's Black Widow in an undisclosed role at this point. We all like David Harbour around here, don't we?
Hell yeah.
Maybe not so much this time next week. We'll see.
I'm going to love him.
solely based on his tie dad, to be honest. I
Yeah.
rewatched that. You know when Super Bowl came out this year, and you know the YouTube floods with the ads, and I had
We
to
said
just go
Thai
back.
Dad. THAI.
Tie dad.
DAD.
Have you not seen
He's
him in
Thai Dad. Oh,
Yeah.
of course, yeah, he's Thai Dad.
in that sitcom that he did in East Asia. The Tide ad that he did, I think, it'd be over a year ago now. So spectacular. On to more relevant things. I really like him. I think that he would be a good fit pretty much wherever he goes. Having said that, like you said, George, after Hellboy, we might have a different opinion. Because I've been very... Oh, no, sorry, that was Ben that said that.
Yes.
I have been very kind of hesitant about Hellboy.
He's well, it's good to see he's already recovered from Hellboy with this.
I think he's a good addition to the MCU. Like, it'll be interesting what kind of role he has. I'm imagining more of a Coulson, or more of a Shield. Well, he had a Nick Fury kind of character.
He had a very similar role in Suicide Squad. He was kind of a government.
Was he in Suicide
sort of
Squad?
Guy? Yeah, only in like the dinner scene where they're discussing putting the team together.
He was like a senator or something.
Well, yeah, one of those dudes.
I erased that from my mind.
At this point, I mean, really, it's got to be a matter of like, who's left in Hollywood? Like the
Plenty.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at that fucking 10-year photo of everyone involved in the Marvel universe, the people that are like going out and finding people for these movies, they either have the easiest or the hardest job out there. Because like it depends on how you look at it. Either it's like there's only 6 people that haven't been in a Marvel movie so far, so you don't have to look far. But at the same time, you got to be like, we've got to find someone to do this role that we haven't already cast.
I wonder when Game of Thrones ends this year where they're going to start picking people from, because
I hope
a major source.
There's very few people in Game of Thrones that I'd be like, oh, you need that person.
They've already done a whole bunch. I mean, there's...
For the MCU?
No, just in general. X-Men, DC, they've taken on a bunch of them, and they pretty much all stink.
Is there anyone from Game of Thrones apart from Peter Dinklage that you really like?
Like as an actor?
As an actor, yeah.
Mountain.
Oh, yeah. Not as an actor. As a guy. That guy's awesome.
Have you seen him holding the mug with his girlfriend?
Yeah.
That is an
tiny,
amazing
regular-sized mug.
Amazing picture.
The guy who plays the Hound, I can't remember his name. He's good in some small stuff. There's a bunch of, like, the real kind of C-list characters in that show are a bunch of fantastic character actors
Tyrion's
generally.
Dead. Dad?
Nikolai Coster-Waldau, I think, is a really good actor.
Yeah.
He's pretty much one of the only main
Did you ever
cast.
end up watching Shot Caller?
No.
I really want to see that. It's still, I think that'd be really good.
Yeah.
So that's the one with him, right?
Yeah. Someone was telling me to watch that for like a year, and the whole time I thought they were saying Shock Collar. Could never find the movie. All right, next up, Kumail Nanjiani has entered talks to star in Marvel's The Eternals. We talked about this last week with Angelina Jolie, or the week before.
Yes, last week.
Does he really strike you as an Eternal?
Well, in one of the more recent reboots, the group of them, they didn't realize they were Eternals. They were all just kind of regular people who, awakened, kind of like sleeper agents at some point. And he psyched me as a regular person, so he could play that part.
But I mean, that's the kind of thing. Like, there's certain actors out there that seem almost too perfect, or they have some level of charisma that you're like, oh, like immediately you're a typical leading person. And that feels to me like what the Eternals should be. And Angelina Jolie kind of fits that description. You have a few others, guys like even like Idris Elba, for example, is a very kind of, he's a big presence, and you're like, I'd buy that guy as a kind of like a god or an Eternal. Same thing with like guys like Ian McShane.
Ian McShane.
Angelina Jolie, Idris Elba, and Ian McShane.
Well, the reason I said Ian McShane is because
I want to be a part of that.
I see the ads everywhere for American Gods, and it just kind of strikes me as someone that has like that kind of presence. So yeah, like those are people. Kumail Nanjiani is not someone that I immediately think to when I think celestial being. I don't know. Everything he does, he kind of doesn't quite fit that bill.
I was just thinking jokingly that I'd love to see him get ripped to shit for this role, like really fit.
Do like a Chris Pratt.
Then the comparison in my mind occurred. Oh yeah, Chris Pratt. I mean, that's kind of a similar thing, right? He was a fat, funny guy on TV in a sitcom, and then he turned into a celestial being.
I suppose that is
essentially,
true. Actually, yeah,
with
really
a godlike body. So we don't know anything about this role, but I hope he gets it, because I would love to see him in the MCU. It could be fun.
Yeah, I still got to see The Big Sick. So
God, that's a good movie.
This is he's on my radar.
You haven't watched that yet?
No, it's on my radar.
Hey, get on to that.
And finally, in MCU news, Joe Russo Rousseau says Avengers Endgame includes Stan Lee's final cameo. So that's official, I
The
guess.
finale.
So
And he's
So
in
Darth
CGI?
Phoenix definitely won't have one.
yeah,
supposedly.
that's- Yeah.
Can you imagine
they
if
said
that was his last?
That was
cameo?
the final.
What a shit. I imagine I can imagine that they've already filmed it, and like Marvel went to them and be like, "You shut that shit down
Nope.
right now."
It's just the same one.
Delete.
They just
Yeah.
refilmed the same one from X3 where it's just Phoenix in the street and he's like, hose goes up. That's such a shitty, weird cameo. It's so pointless.
There was something else in the MCU this week that happened, and it has just escaped me. Oh, Feige. Feige announced
5-year plan.
5-year plan.
They're working on a 5-year plan. He says they'd been working on that before all this Fox stuff was finalized.
Yep.
So it doesn't necessarily include X-Men
Yes.
So do you think that
in the
they'll
foundation.
adjust that 5-year plan to accommodate for the Fox properties that are coming over? Or Marvel
I think
comedies
it's going to
probably?
take 3 to 5 years for them to develop those and actually film it and to the point where they're actually releasing it. So I think it weaves in quite nicely.
Yeah.
And also, I think I hope that they've learned their lesson from Solo. And, you know, sometimes you just need things to breathe a little bit and let the fan base actually
This
build
is-
some demand. So like
this is
X-Men, like give it a minute. Let everyone kind of have a bit of space and then get into it.
Were you kind of thinking that they might jump into it relatively quickly last time we talked about this?
I didn't really have an opinion. I could see them go down both ways, but like hearing this, I think it's kind of like one of those things where if you have too much exposure, the overexposure can really put a dent in your brand. So
Yeah.
kind of leave people to get a bit hungry for some X-Men, build some hype, pump out a few more movies, and have a few little post-credit sequences or teasers in a couple years' time. Really pump it up.
Take the time with it is
Yeah.
essentially what you're saying. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, good to see they're sticking to the methodical path that got us here.
Everything is well in Marvel.
For now. Alrighty, let's move on to the Smirk? Sony Universe. Sumk.
SUMC.
Sorry, the Sony Universe of Marvel characters.
Jesus.
So Jared Leto releases the first full look at Sony's Morbius the Living Vampire.
Full look is a bit of a generous term.
Yeah, it's just him standing in the street. It's not like
full
him.
body.
It's not him. It's just Jared Leto. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not him in costume or anything.
Head to
The
toe.
main fun thing here is the caption with the Instagram post, which reads, "Because no one else will walk this path, this place of shadows, where we do what must be done, no matter the cost." Now, I
He
would
looks
have.
like a lame Blade.
I think this is
Yeah. It's
apt comparison.
yeah.
But I would say I would have bet money that he had written that, or that was a lyric from one of his fucking songs. But that is a line from a Morbius comic that is spoken. So whatever.
It seems to be leaning a little bit into the anti-hero, thing that they're going for with this. So it makes, it's a good way to introduce it. Quick little fact, 10 years since 30 Seconds to Mars, This Is War. What an album. What a fucking album.
Yep.
I don't think I've
And that
ever
was it.
really listened to
That
30
was it.
Seconds from Mars.
That was it. That's my time with 30 Seconds to Mars done. So it's been a decade where I haven't given a fuck.
Wow.
Yeah.
There you go. It's been a lot longer for me.
So with the Sumk, the most recent one, Venom, the leading man is what really made that film. It's the only reason that I really paid attention to it at all, and I was still pretty, lukewarm on it. Jared Leto, do you think that he can carry this film if it comes down to it?
I think he's a phenomenal actor. Yeah.
Yeah, I've always
but
had my hesitations with him. I feel like he's an example of what I was just talking about before, being overexposed. For me, it was just too much Jared Leto, too much Jesus face. Give it a rest, man. So I think he can, but I understand what you're saying, man. It's like there was one key ingredient to Venom that made it work, and they're gonna need a few more ingredients in this to make this work.
Because in my opinion, I think Venom kind of fell into their lap as a happy mistake. Like I don't think the way that turned out is what they intended necessarily.
What leads you to believe that?
Well, everything about that movie seems so haphazard, and as I said, the only real draw for me was Tom Hardy, and some of that can be down to direction, but I think a lot of that's just down to Tom Hardy doing a good job. Because everything else I found very lackluster. So I don't think that they were intending on the only positive of that movie being Tom Hardy. That's just my and that's just my opinion. Like I have no way of knowing, but with this, I don't have the same kind of faith in Jared Leto that I do in Tom Hardy to deliver at the very least an interesting performance, the one that's going to capture me through an entire film.
Yeah, I can see what you mean. To be honest, I hope this is cool, and I hope they go into that Blade underworld, that sort of late 90s noughties vibe.
Hell
that
yeah.
they definitely had a lot of that in Venom. They definitely were leaning into that kind of vibe in that one. So I hope they continue going down that rabbit hole, because I do think some could potentially work. Could is the key word there.
Yeah, just what you're saying about Blade there. No matter how many times I trumpet those first two films, at least I haven't seen the third. I think they are just so underrated, and I always need to take the time again to say that they are amazing.
Are they underrated? I feel like Blade is kind of a staple of 90s.
I don't think they get any credit
Nobody talks about them
at all.
Well, certainly not in the kind of the context of superhero films.
Like everyone was like, "Oh, the first black superhero, Black Panther." It's like, bro, Blade, man. Not everyone forgot about Blade.
Yeah, 20 years ago, you know. But yeah, just seriously, anyone, if you haven't seen it out there, watch the original Blade. It has some ropey special effects, but it
Blade
is
2, man.
amazing.
Guillermo del Toro.
We got to watch the first one first, George.
No, I say hell yeah. Watch the first one.
Yeah, I would say if
that
anything, like at least the first one is definitely underrated, because everyone says Blade 2.
Christopherson, right?
Amazing.
As well.
He's in there. Yeah. He's got a weird head. Yeah, I'm hung up on
He's
people's heads
basically
today.
like a discount Willie Nelson.
Yeah, no, exactly. I'm more than willing to give this Morbius film a chance. I hope it's something good, because the more the merrier, really.
Yeah.
Alrighty, next up, let's move over to DC. A Shazam sequel is in the works with returning screenwriter Henry Gayden.
So, do we have any indication on how well Shazam has been performing?
Yes.
Reasonably well.
Yeah, so it has the lowest opening weekend for any film in the DCEU, but it was also very moderately budgeted. Supposedly not more than $90 million. So it's opened globally to about 150
159, yeah.
Yeah,
and in comparison to Captain Marvel, it was about a third of what that film made. Shazam made about a third in the same amount of time compared to Captain Marvel.
Isn't that like a wonderful stat, though, about this movie, only costing $90 million, and what Justice League cost, 300 million? Some shit like that.
We're never going to know, but
and it looks 3 times better for a third of the cost.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like,
What a
it's just
bummer.
like
It's a nice little story.
Yeah.
So it's a nice. The thing we'll get into the Shazam review. Obviously, go check that out. But this is cool. I think there's a lot of scope here for that franchise. And I liked the approach with the mid-budget thing.
Yeah.
Similar to Venom, like that mid-budget. It doesn't have to be 200, 300 million. We can get away more with dealing with characters and getting to know the characters more than fucking a million things going on.
I would have liked to see a little bit more budget in Venom for Venom itself. Like, for me personally, I didn't quite like the look of it. Like the
bad guy. I had more of a problem with the bad guy more than anything.
No, I just got the design. The design was fine. I would have liked a little bit of finishing touches on it. Anyways.
Yeah, so this has been a very well received film overall. So it's nice that it's getting this kind of happy story to go with it. No one's saying it's underperforming or anything, which people even did call with Aquaman, believe it or not, when that first came out, because the numbers were a little slow initially, and then it kind of exploded.
Built up.
Yeah, but obviously that was a much more expensive film, so that makes a bit of sense. But in more Shazam news, Dwayne Johnson's Black Adam film is to enter production next year. So
can you explain to me, Black Adam becomes Shazam, or what's the go here? Because he's got the same lightning bolt thing, right?
So Black Adam is... Okay, so he's from the ancient city of Karnak. He's a guy who the
I
wizard...
fucking love it when you tell me these things.
Full nerd.
The wizard Shazam chose as a champion thousands of years ago, and he ended up using the powers of Shazam, so that's why he has the same costume, but for evil. Like, he's a dick. Okay. So he's Black Adam, or Teth Adam in the comics as well. He's a frequent, like a kind of a really major villain in the DC comics. and also sometimes an anti-hero. He's one of those really interesting villains. He's kind of like that Doctor Doom kind of villain, that he's not explicitly evil necessarily. He's just got his own interests. Like he's got his own, nation to look after, his own people. So, and that often conflicts with the heroes of the story. He reminds me a lot of Namor the Submariner from Marvel, who I'm sure will have a movie of within 10 years as well. Really interesting casting because, I mean, he totally looks like The Rock in that he's the swollest guy around.
Yeah.
But he's a very serious character. Like, he doesn't have that charm of The Rock. It's not a funny character, despite the tone that we've seen from the Shazam film already.
Which might be a nice change for The Rock.
Yeah.
Do you think he'll play it like that, though?
Hard
It's
to
very
say.
against his brand, but that could sometimes doing the opposite of what people expect is sometimes really refreshing and
think
awesome.
The Rock, not that he's not capable of playing a serious character, but I think he knows where his sweet spot is.
Yeah.
And he's talked about it before. Like when he did, was it Doom?
Did you say Dune?
Doom.
I honestly, I have to check every time you say it.
when he did Doom, I think it was after that he was kind of saying like, no, this is not, like, this whole violent action game thing is not my scene. It's not what's going to make me successful.
Did he explicitly say that?
Oh God.
He said it with his eyes.
I'm going to misquote
Yeah,
this, but I'm
he-
pretty sure I heard an interview with him where he was like, that was a turning point for me.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
And then he did Witch Mountain.
So I think that I don't think he'll do something terribly off brand.
I would go in the other direction, not in the terms of like off-brand for his persona. I think he will do. Not in terms of the quality that he tries to bring to things, though, because he was a producer on Shazam. He seems to really care about this property a lot. Apparently, it was his suggestion to split Shazam and Black Adam into two different movies.
Oh, okay.
Because they were apparently trying to crack that movie for years as an origin for both characters.
Yeah.
That's why
Right.
he was cast ages before any character in
It's about
Shazam.
5 years ago or something.
And then he
Yeah.
made the very generous decision I should have my own movie.
Well, I'm kind of the generous decision to be like, I'm not going to overshadow this other character in that movie, because he absolutely would if that had happened. So yeah, I was watching his little Instagram video today announcing this, and he really seems committed to all of
Yeah.
his projects. So
I
that's
watched
cool. I
that
mean,
as
this
well.
is his first superhero character if you don't count Hobbs from Fast and Furious.
we count him.
Yeah,
we
which
fucking
you probably
count
should.
him.
Kinda have to, yeah.
I rewatched that scene in the in Fast
The prison?
7 in the prison.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh
Classic.
yeah, no, he's
Yeah.
basically just
Yeah.
Superman.
Yeah, he's fucking Thor. Yeah, no, do you think they'll do the anti-hero thing with him? Like go
Well,
down
if-
the same
if
sort
they
of
have a-
Venom?
If they have a Black Adam movie, then yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
they
it feels oddly similar to the Scorpion King character to me, because I feel like there might be a movie like the Scorpion King movie where he's the protagonist,
Right. An
kind of
offshoot
doing
kind
what he
thing.
had to for his reasons. I never saw the film, but then he ends up being the bad guy in a different film.
But
Which
Yeah,
I feel like
that
the
makes
way
sense.
that worked is he was the bad guy first, and then you got, sympathy for him with the sequel, which ended up being his backstory. You kind of realized how he went bad.
You've seen that movie, haven't you?
I have. Of course I have. Like that came, oh, come on. That came out like 15, 16 years ago
Those
when we didn't give a
pincers.
shit. No, that's Mummy 2.
Mummy Returns.
Mummy Returns.
Well, then
There
I've
was-
never
there-
seen the
there-
Scorpion King.
There was a Scorpion King movie, which like
I
he
never
was the
saw it
main
then.
character in that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I'm saying. They'll give you a film that sets up his motivations and his character in that kind of Killmongery way. I assume that's what they'd want is a character who people love despite them being ostensibly the bad guy and
Yeah.
doing bad things. And then he can end up in Shazam 3, I think is what the word is, that they're going to come head to head in that.
Cool.
So
It's
he
the
will.
only thing that makes
So wait,
sense.
are you saying that Shazam 2 will happen before Black Adam?
No, Black Adam's going into production next year.
Yeah.
Shazam 2 will happen shortly after that. And then I think they're going to be saving him for the third one, from what I've heard.
Killer.
Yeah, so
The
that's
Shazam
just
verse.
a lot of big plans happening with DC. And
I
that's,
like
that's
this
appropriate.
approach. I like this approach, man. Make little clusters of little mini cinematic universes that work in concert with each other. But then
But basically,
that
this is,
you can take liberties with making it all the suite of characters. Each one can kind of work in its own little silo.
But I mean, this is really what Marvel did. They made, at least 3 kind of separate movies that were very tenuously linked, and then they started building on each other to kind of make it a universe. They didn't take the DC approach of just, kitchen sink everything all in one. They built little storylines and then merged them together. So I think that DC is probably doing the clever thing, which is, all right, Aquaman barely touched on anything that happened in Justice League.
They should not have mentioned what's his face, the big metalhead dickhead from Justice League. What's his name?
What, the
Steppenwolf?
Steppenwolf?
Yeah.
They should really not have mentioned. They should edit that out of the Blu-ray release.
But they had that is kind of separate. They had Shazam very much separate, like exists in that universe, but very tenuously. And I think that's going to be their success, or that's going to be the road back to success, because their kind of all-in-one strategy fucking did not work.
So are you saying they'll separate them and then over time integrate them?
Yeah, I think what they are doing is focusing on individual stories and individual characters, and then they're going to do the Marvel approach, which is they will slowly weave them in together.
I think they're doing something a little bit different. If what we're led to believe here is like there'll be a little Shazam verse, and now we've got Aquaman in the trench, so we've got a little Aquaman verse, and
with the Harley Quinn.
Yeah, I feel
movies.
like they're doing it, like they're breaking it down even more than Marvel, and when they do integrate the Justice League, it'll literally be the main six, and that's it. Shazam won't feature. It's all speculation, obviously, but I think that's the path they're going. It's a little bit different. Yeah, but for the next Justice League.
Yeah, look, they might even not do another Justice League. They might.
It will not be for a long time.
Yeah, they might just focus on these characters, and I genuinely think that that's what they'll do. I don't think that they will silo because, shared universes are the big thing. Like, there will almost certainly be a crossover with Shazam and Aquaman, and like that's just the kind of the natural progression of this type of thing. But it's the right way to do it. I don't think that they'll just keep Shazam, because if you think about the shelf life of a single IP, it's really tenuous and hard to kind of bring those out, on their own. But if you look at Marvel and what they've done with their shared universe, that is far easier to continue the shelf life of a single hero if you're incorporating it in different movies and different aspects. And it's so much easier to do it in that context. If you think about how many movies has Robert Downey Jr. played a genuinely a large role in the last 12 years? It's got to be for the Marvel universe. It's got to be like what, 4, 3, 5, 6, 7 at least, 7 of the films. Can you imagine there being an Iron Man 7 now? If it was just his own little universe, Iron Man universe, that would be bizarre. No one would stick with that single character in its own universe for that long.
I'm a bit confused, but yes.
I feel like I wasn't, What part confused you exactly?
Are you saying an Iron Man 4 wouldn't do well?
Yeah, I'm not sure what you're saying.
In the context of a shared universe, could very well
Iron Man 3 post-Avengers was so successful for them. That cracked $1 billion.
Post-Avengers. They're not siloing the universes. By the time that happened,
no.
He was incorporated
I think you're
into a
taking
shared
what I'm
universe.
saying with the silos. Like I'm saying, like there will still be a shared universe. Like the Justice League will still
But you're
incorporate.
saying they're more siloed, and it's only
Yes, and they will kind of focus on those silos for longer, and they will kind of develop.
That's my point. If you take a
Well,
silo,
how do you explain the trench? How do you explain Aquaman 2? That's clearly in its own little its own little pocket. Yeah, but there'll be an Aquaman 3, and there'll be maybe a trench, something else. Like there'll be a Black Manta movie. Who knows?
We don't even know if the trench.
And
is
I said it's
successful
pure
at all.
speculation, but I can see them. I see like there's inklings of that's the way they're going.
Yeah. I'm just saying that I don't think siloed, kind of movies on their own will do as well as if you incorporate a broader shared universe. Because
it's not like Shazam. Shazam referenced Batman. Oh shit!
Very tenuously.
It's all in the ads.
That's in the ads.
Yeah.
I mean, they're still connected. It's still connected, but it's just like we're going to focus on this for the next 5 years.
We can talk about that more in the Shazam review. We're getting bogged down.
Yeah.
Just quickly, I like that approach of just these bunch of different areas and characters in their own groups, because that feels like maybe even the next step after what Marvel's doing, because that will make the universe feel even bigger.
Exactly.
Without the crossovers, ironically.
Yeah. And each one can kind of have its own little distinct tone, and then you can take liberties when it's all integrated. Like maybe Aquaman's a little more serious when he's in the Justice League, or like there seems to be a little bit more wiggle room. They seem to be like with the MCU, it's very neatly put together. Like
Now,
even though they
certainly,
do, yes, some things don't wrap up, but generally speaking, the MCU, out of all the shared universes out there, there's definitely a lot more continuity than others. So it's quite exciting. I think that's quite cool.
Yeah. Anyway, in more DC news, Idris Elba is no longer replacing Will Smith as Deadshot in the Suicide Squad. He's now playing a new character.
So I've got a question for you guys on this one.
I can go for it.
Was Idris Elba ever actually replacing Will Smith, or was that just shitty reporting where everyone's like, he's cast in the Suicide Squad, he's definitely going to play Deadshot?
That's a good question.
Because I feel like that's the kind of clickbaity kind of assumptions that most people would make. Like, that's what we reported on because we saw it everywhere. But was he ever slated to actually play Deadshot?
It's hard to say. I mean, there's so much conflicting information about this film. I mean, early word was just black and white. It's a reboot. And then we got more and more cast confirmations for people coming back. Harley Quinn, Margot Robbie is apparently going to be in this one. Viola Davis and Joel Kinnaman are coming back as well.
Oh, Kinnaman's coming back. I thought he wasn't.
Rick Flag, yeah. He
That's cool.
just came out today that he's supposedly coming back. So now it's just straight up a sequel. So what I was reading today was that Idris Elba was brought on to replace Will Smith in that role. But, you know, who knows if that's correct or not. And then they just decided to go in a different direction with it, which I think is a much better idea.
Yeah, so do I.
I was kind of looking forward to that, but I was kind of like just purely like the recasting, and it's just fun to see. I don't know. I like get a kick out of those kind of things, but I'm a Idris Elba fan, so as long as he's in it and he's got a cool role, I'm easy. But I agree with you, man. Like, it's a very good point. Was he ever going to be Deadshot?
Yeah.
Or is everyone just like, oh, Will Smith isn't in it, Idris is in it, he's playing Deadshot?
Yeah.
They did. I think they were trying to get Will in it, but scheduling conflicts, got other stuff going on.
So I've got to do my vlog.
Can't do it. And I can imagine, you know, it wouldn't have been that hard of a choice for him to make to not come
Yeah, I
back
was
for
going to
this.
say, he must have really toiled over that decision. Sorry, guys, I'm just not going to be able to do it. It really crushes
I mean,
me.
he barely showed up for the first one. Remember, anytime there was an action scene, he had that full mask over his head. Stunt double doing it.
Yeah.
And finally, one last little DC tidbit. Henry Cavill's Superman moustache pre-CGI revealed in a Justice League photo.
They should have just, I mean, just watching that, they should have just gone with, 6 o'clock Spider-Man, Superman. I mean, it's just like
You always get those two
I know, I don't know what it is.
It couldn't be more different.
I mean, this just seems like a no-brainer to me.
Yeah, the super stash, man.
Yeah.
It's
fucking
kind
go
of
with
cool. I kind of love it.
So it looks
I kind of
really fun.
I'm like, where's this guy been? What has he been up to? You know, like,
I mean, it's no surprise to anyone. It looks exactly like his character from Mission Impossible, the last one, just in the Superman costume. But it's just funny. It was on Chris Jenkins' Bisbee Studios feature and doc sound mixing. It's been on this website page. Someone who worked on something for Warner Brothers, evidently, this movie, I assume. It's been on the page since March.
wow.
And there's someone only just found it. So
Like March, like a month ago, or like March a year ago?
2018.
this year, yeah. But
Oh, so for a month.
yeah, but
Oh,
like
okay.
it's it's the internet. It's rare for something to stay hidden
Stay
like
evasive.
that, especially something that people were pretty voraciously searching for.
God, that Mo really it just fucking did a doozy on that movie.
Brought down a whole universe.
Shit.
Almost.
How's that?
Yeah. What time is it?
It's trailer time.
Trailer time.
What do we got, Condor?
All right, so first off the rank, we've talked about this a little bit in our live stream, but here to talk about it officially, we've got the Joker trailer. This has been doing the rounds. We got to see the first official look at Joaquin Phoenix as the Joker. I'll give my opinion first. I'm a bit lackluster on this. I kind of am getting the fatigue with the whole Joker character in general. I think there is no shortage of material about the Joker out there. And I don't know, I just watching this, I think if this was a movie that had nothing to do with DC, I'd probably be more interested. Like, I think the IP in this is actually going against me in this.
So do you think if this was just like a guy who was kind of a bit crazy and a bit of a character study?
I mean, if this was just like a Scorsese, type film about a crazy clown,
Yeah.
I'd probably be more interested in that than having to kind of fit another version of the Joker into my mind. I mean, it feels like blatant, just...
Well, I know what you mean, man, because like I was reading this article about all the Jokers that have come in the past sort of 10 years. They sort of had Heath Ledger's, we've got the Gotham Joker, we've got Jared Leto's Joker, we've got this one. that's a lot of Jokers in 10 years.
No, I was going to say Nicolas Cage. We had
If only.
who was the one in Burton's?
Don't help him.
Oh,
Don't help him.
Jack Nickelburn.
That's it. Nickelburn. I knew that name.
But, that was 20 years ago. But literally, like
30 years ago this year.
Oh yeah,
That was a
89.
really
Fuck.
shit.
Getting old. But I know what you mean, man. It's like on that criteria alone, there's a lot of Joker material out there. However, I'm really liking the approach in this. I think also the music used in the trailer is just fantastic.
Yeah, it's certainly a creepy trailer, like no doubt. But
And it's got that kind of Taxi Driver sort of vibe to it that I'm really into. I'm liking like bringing an edge and a sophistication to a comic book character that we've known for so long.
Yeah, and I'm really digging the I keep saying this. I just really like how disconnected this is from anything else DC's doing right now.
Yep.
I love that they've just gone. Yes, Todd Phillips and Joaquin Phoenix. You can make this movie that's not connected to anything. That's like,
doesn't it kind of annoy you a little bit that it's so disconnected to the point where you're like, so why bother having it be a DC film? Like it just feels like
No, not at all. I
actually find it liberating.
As a comic book fan, that's one of the best things is these kind of alternate universes, these different takes, these one-offs. Like someone can come in and just do a version. You get a new writer, new artist. To just do a completely different version from anything that's currently running. You don't have to worry about all this continuity bullshit.
But how many times can you redo a character or have a character like on film before it just kind of be like, all right, we get it. The Joker's a big thing. Let's kind of just fucking move
I don't think we've ever seen him like this though. When he's front and center, he's always the foil to Batman.
What are we just going to do then? Like just have the Joker in every possible type? Like next time we're going to have Joker in the style of, X, Y, or Z. Like I don't.
Well, I'm not going to hold that against this film. I mean, this is the only Joker film that they've ever made. Like Heath Ledger is fucking untouchable in that role, but he's a secondary character in that film. I don't know. I guess it all just boils down to I like this trailer quite a lot.
I'm liking Joaquin's the look he's gone for in this as well. Like that bit where he's hunched over. And you can see his spine, and he's like, and I'm like, wow, this guy's
freaky.
really going for it in this.
Yeah.
He's got that Christian Bale machinist kind of like soaking into the role vibe.
Yeah.
I'm pretty pumped.
I mean, I'll watch Joaquin in anything that he kind of puts his name on because he always commits himself so thoroughly. He's always so watchable, and he seems to just have very good taste in who he picks to work with as well. So that's just really enough for me. Especially like seeing that kind of pedigree put to some comic book stuff that I'm just naturally interested in. I'm just like,
you're not wrong about anything. I don't know why I'm so negative on this trailer. It's just like there's something I can't put my finger on. It's just something I'm not.
I know what you mean, man. Like it can be, as I said, there's a lot of different interpretations out there, and it's like we're getting flooded with so much stuff. Like I can understand your cynicism, but in the execution, I think it wins. So the idea, maybe I didn't have. It was a bit sketchy on the idea, but seeing the trailer, I'm like, I've got full confidence in this.
I'm sure it'll be technically speaking, a good film.
Technically.
Anything to wash away the taste of that Jared Leto one, I think, is
100%
well worth it.
Damaged.
Let's move on. We've got the R-rated Hellboy trailer.
Jesus
and
Christ.
R-rated it is. They seem to. So in Australia, it got an R rating, and I think that they. There was an article that you sent us today, Ben, where they challenged that rating, obviously because they would like some money out of this film.
That's a death knell in Australia. An R rating for any American viewers. Our R here is just R18 plus. You got to be 18 to see it.
And mum and dad can't get you in.
Nope, and they don't make money. There's just so few of them. It doesn't happen.
Yeah. It I think what Deadpool was R.
Nope.
MA.
Oh, it was MA. All right, yeah.
And Australia, we're very lenient with our classification here.
So hard to
get an R rating. You have to be doing some fucked up shit, man. You got to be doing some human centipede shit.
Honestly, based on this trailer, it looks as though that they're really leaning in, like they're fucking going hard to the paint. And I mean, they clearly just lent into that with this ad, because I think in Australia they're just like, fuck it, this is happening. Let's just fucking lean into it and hope there's enough Hellboy fans over 18.
But what is it purely on gore? It got this rating?
It does seem to be strong bloody violence.
I mean,
strong bloody violence and language.
There's gonna have to be some really fucked up shit in here because
look at the stuff that was in the
Saw
trailer.
got MA, and Saw's torture. Like it seems so much more like it's just so much more comic booky and sort of wild and fun.
So reading the article about the classification specifically in Australia, they mentioned there was something that happened at a certain point in the film. They gave the actual runtime. And they outlined it in the thing. I didn't read it because I didn't want to know just yet. But apparently there is a specific scene that kind of ended.
Right.
So fuck, who knows? Yeah. But in terms of this film, it's kind of got me on board for like a real just schlocky mess of a movie.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I do not like this approach for Hellboy at all. This is so not the direction I wanted them to go when we announced this project.
I know what you mean.
Like this is not what this comic is. This comic isn't a splatterfest.
It's not.
It never was.
But I'm not, and I'm like, I'm a big Hellboy fan. I've read all the comics. I'm not against this. I'm still giving it a real good chance because I do think there's a lot of love behind it.
Does it conflict with the original comics, like this level of gore and violence?
The comics are a lot more sort of about folklore and leaning into World War II, sort of steampunkisms, and it's a lot more sort of somber.
Which is,
it's not action-packed.
What I got out of the Del Toro movies, Golden Army particularly, you just get the sense like they're going for folklore, the kind of subterranean, otherworld, fairies, trolls, shit like that, which I thought was really cool. This seems to be, this consistently reminds me of that fucking Vin Diesel film,
Witch Hunter.
Yeah.
Totally is in that ballpark.
And that, I mean,
I love that shit.
Can you imagine like that movie but R? That's not a good recipe for a movie that's A, going to make money, or B, be good.
Can't be worse.
I mean, I don't think it'll be worse, but that's not saying much.
Yeah, I'm still keen to give this movie a shot. It's just disappointing, I think, given the direction that I thought they were kind of trying to sell when they first announced it. But because I don't think the Del Toro movies really captured Hellboy either, in a lot of ways, especially the second one. So, not to say they weren't good. So I guess that's another just Hail Mary for this, maybe. It's just because it's not the same as the comics. Doesn't mean it can't be good.
All right. Third, we have Godzilla, King of the Monsters. A trailer with a song. What's the song? Somewhere Over the Rainbow.
It's funny. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark last week had the same song and a different rendition.
This is always a trend that happens with trailers. Like there's one song that everyone's like, let's just slow it down and place it in, and like it'll be awesome.
What was the thing from a few years ago that we always used to say? Sad, slow cover. That was. I think it's kind of died down a bit, but this is another example in that. Nothing really new here.
I have been consistently excited for this film. Like I don't know what it is, but I am so on board for this. I think this movie looks gorgeous.
I think they've nailed the scale.
Yeah, I don't know. Like it
feels gargantuan. Like they feel really large.
Yeah. There was one scene in it that I was like, not sure about that. Like there's this entire town's being obliterated by wind, and like there's a kid holding onto a soldier, and you just like somehow holding on to each other in this wind. I'm like, all right, well, okay. But apart from that, I kind of love there's a perfect line in there where they're just like, it's Godzilla's world. We're just living in it. And I think that encapsulates the scale perfectly. I will be really interested to see how they kind of orientate the audience around the human characters in this. I think they did a very it almost seems like a necessary but a poor job with Aaron Taylor Johnson. That's his name, right? In the first one.
Wow,
I know. A name that I got right.
That's the second one of the year.
Bland of name, but there were 3 of them, so. I take my wins where I can get them. Like it felt like a necessary job to associate the audience with some kind of human character, but it was just kind of one of those things where you're like,
They just forgot to put an actual character in his
Yeah.
character.
So that I think that'll be the linchpin of this film.
I'm steadfastly preventing myself from getting any sort of excitement about this movie. I was disappointed by Godzilla. I was disappointed by Kong Skull Island. I refuse to get excited and disappointed by this one.
No, I'm gonna whatever. I'm not excited. I'm not just like we'll see how the end product turns out.
Yeah.
There doesn't seem to be any A-list characters in this, which is what makes me think
Other
this
than
could work.
Millie Bob Thornton.
Yeah,
I've been wanting to drop that.
Like I said,
Been working on that for weeks.
Round of
because
applause.
in the first one you had Bryan Cranston and Ayla.
Briefly.
Exactly.
You should
Spoilers.
have quit while you were ahead.
Spoilers.
Um,
You should have moved on to the next
Taylor
trailer.
Johnson. And that was the failing part. In Kong Skull Island, you had
Sam Jackson, John Goodman, Tom Hiddleston,
Brie Larson,
and that
John
was-
C.
well,
Riley.
mostly
Fucking
Larson
good.
and Hiddleston were
I wanna watch
the
that movie
main
again.
kind of linchpin of like that movie falling apart because they were shockingly bad in that film. But like the monster aspect of it, I thought worked with both of those. So I think this one seems to be a little bit more focused on that aspect with less kind of distraction on the human side. I think that could be really good.
I really hope Ken Watanabe says, "Let them fight again."
Please.
It's his
What-
catchphrase.
again?
It's like
What
the
a
most memorable thing of that first film.
Fucking line. Let them fight. Finally, we have an Avengers clip. Just like a
Hype.
minute 30 little clip about them talking about how he used the stones again. We don't really get any context onto that. And them kind of deciding, yeah, we've got to go and try and use the stones to reverse whatever has happened. I'm going to make a bold call that never shows up in the movie. It's all fake. The Russo brothers it's just a massive, none of those actors ever did anything. It's all CGI.
Endgame isn't actually a movie.
Nothing
not
we've
coming
seen in
out.
the trailer so far will actually show up in the film.
Biggest troll of all time.
God, and I wouldn't
Fuck
put it
yeah.
past him.
I like the deliberation here wherein like, do we just kind of like, what are we going to do? Are we going to go back and save them? Are we going to go forward and kind of fight Thanos and take him out? Like, I'm liking that. They're trying to get a lay of the land on where they're going. And
I've
I
just
find
got
that quite
a
interesting.
prediction about. I feel like they're going to use the time stone. Maybe. I mean, I know a lot of people are talking about quantum realm, but I can see them going and fighting Thanos and
How will they get
somehow
the time? Oh, they'll go fight Thanos.
fight Thanos.
Right.
Use the time stone.
Uh-huh.
Maybe like some kind of trap set by Doctor Strange. I don't know. Like it's.
No, I think
Randall
Quantum Realm, I'm pretty set that that's going to happen. So don't know
fair
how that's going to work into time travel, but
But it will.
somehow
Okay.
it's
thing
quantum.
The cool thing about this clip is it's still like it's built from stuff we've seen a lot of before, and it still seems very early in the film.
Yes.
They're not like it just doesn't spoil anything.
No.
Still, even though it's a clip. I don't know if you guys remember the work up to the release of Age of Ultron. They released like 45% of that film on YouTube.
Really?
Just in scenes, yeah, just clips.
Oh.
Like the Hulkbuster fight was on YouTube before
That's
the like,
right.
before the movie came out. Yeah,
At least a good chunk of it, at least. Yeah.
The good old days, man.
No.
The equity.
Yeah.
I really don't like that. I remember when they did that for the third Batman, third Nolan Batman. Which one's that? Whatever it's called.
Dark Knight Rises.
Dark Knight Rises. Yeah. Remember they released that entire like first scene or something like that.
Yeah.
And I
That was cool.
I did not like that.
It was
at all.
attached to
I hate when
Ghost
they-
Protocol.
I hate when
In
they
IMAX,
release
yeah.
big chunks of films because it's like, of course you want to see it, but I think it's just too much. Like, why? Like, just save it for the actual film. I love the way that they've marketed this. I absolutely love that they have provided the smallest amount of information that is needed to hook you in or to give you some kind of indication about what's going to happen.
Even less than that almost.
And again, knowing the Russo brothers, it's probably a misdirect.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine from what little we've seen how much of that is fake. Because I mean, so much of that the Infinity War marketing was.
I went back and watched
re-edited.
after we watched it on the weekend. I watched the Infinity War trailer, and there's a lot of stuff they removed.
Little things.
Like that the Sanctum with the window, and in the trailer there's no Hulk coming in the Rainbow Road.
Yeah.
So they just they tweak little
Spider-Man's
things.
arms even. Like
Yeah.
they kept that a secret.
Yeah.
Something like that
And
could
him
be used to sell
going
toys.
through that holding. Who did he grab? And he sort of
Grabbing Mantis and Drax and stuff. Yeah. They just
completely removed that.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Let's wrap it up with question of the week. Got an awesome one here from our boy Joel Beharrie.
Hey, Joel.
And he's basically mentioned a cool little story that he was inspired by the Martin Sheen film The Way. He did this epic 800-kilometer hike. You crazy bastard. That's fucking crazy. Hats off to you, man. That's a great achievement.
Well done.
But the question is, have you guys ever seen a movie that has inspired you to do something totally wild and adventurous or life-changing?
Well, as you gentlemen know, I got my love for hookers and blow from Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah, you have not been the same since, man. We've been meaning to talk to you about that.
He's wild.
Ludes.
I mean, I'll jump into that. For me, it's mostly it's adventure films, and specifically like sport adventure films. So things like Art of Flight. There's a lot of mountain biking films that I'll watch, or climbing films that I'll watch, and that gets me like pumped to get out and basically do what Joel was talking about, like going out hiking or biking. Like I just it's almost like a guilt trip as well, because it's like, look at me enjoying the outdoors. I'm like, fuck, I should probably do that, and then like I'll get my camping gear and go out. Yeah.
But so more of like a documentary style about some elite athlete or something, as opposed to really, like
they're not documentaries. I mean, like if
they're clip shows.
Not even like, I mean, Art of Flight is pretty high production for a sports film. It's a snowboarding film that's shot by Red Bull and some other people, and it stars Travis Rice, and that's like a really cool movie to kind of follow. The follow up to Art of Flight was also really, kind of really cool. You get invested in these characters and watching the journey that they have, that kind of shit. And so it just kind of like inspires you to get out and do something. Like it's kind of one of those things. I also remember, I mean, on an offshoot, I was still am very suggestible with movies. And I remember that every time I watched Muppets Treasure Island, I would be like, oh, I want to be a pirate. Like I would just like, that would be a mindset for me. I was like, I love pirates for the next week. That's just my thing.
What about the Cabin Fever?
Cabin Fever.
Actually, that looked pretty fun, didn't it?
Yeah. I mean, like that looked great. I didn't really understand what Cabin Fever was. Like there's a lot of that movie that I didn't understand when I was, in my main kind of phase of watching it.
It's pretty lofty stuff.
a lot of jokes that went over my head, which is saying something if you're talking about Muppets.
Got anything, Benny?
Yeah, not one specific thing, but I many years ago when I was a young lad of 21 years old, I did a huge road trip through the States, and my big stipulation that we spend as the most significant chunk of it in New York City, Manhattan specifically. So yeah, we spent like 1/5 of the whole trip there. And that was like a spiritual experience for me almost. Just growing up being such a big movie fan, being able to walk down a street and every street corner to see something and be like, oh my God, I recognize that from this movie and that from this movie. And you'll come across the Ghostbusters firehouse or a bridge from like Woody Allen's Manhattan or something. And just looking up every time, just like
soaking it in.
But being so wonderstruck that you expect to see Spider-Man swinging around up there. I remember arriving the first night, 11 p.m., just below 100th Street near Harlem, and seeing a rat running across the road past like a smoking sewer grate. I'm like, holy fuck, I am home.
Yeah,
it was. I could have cried. It was the most beautiful thing in the world. Yeah, so that's
is that Departed or?
yeah, I guess so.
Even though I don't know. Is it Departed in New York? No, that's Boston, isn't it?
Yeah, it's in Boston.
Yeah.
My pick is when I was on my honeymoon last year. We were in the Highlands of Scotland for 2 weeks, and we went one of my main missions. And even though I've got my problems with the movie, I've always loved the scenery of the beginning of Prometheus and the Old Man of Store. Those big, gargantuan
that movie
stones.
And about another 20 others.
And I was like, we have to go here. Like, it's my mission to go. And we hiked up this hectic was a solid hike. Like, I wouldn't call it a hike. I'd say it's more of a walk, but it was really steep and it was raining and it was muddy. But we got to the top there and I was kind of like soaking it in. And I was like, Ridley Scott chose this for a very specific reason. It's got this awe about it, and like they almost look like you're gonna sort of, these stones look like you could go up to them and push them and they're gonna topple down this mountain, and it just had this really epic, otherworldly feeling about it, and it was just a really, really just really fun.
Were there lots of people there?
So it started raining, so heaps of people bailed. So by the time we got to the top, it was pretty cleared out.
That's good.
Yeah.
So I can imagine that would be one of those places, because it's featured in quite a few movies and you can almost like see it shot for shot.
So
I imagine
iconic.
That would be a place that a lot of people would really want to go.
Yeah.
As you said, like even on the big screen, it is very awe-inspiring. So I can only imagine what that would be like in real life.
Yeah, and we just got found a little corner and ate our lunch there, and it was just a really one of those things I'll remember for a very, very, very long time.
Nice.
And I wanted to also say another thing that inspired me is old mate Peter Jackson, and just trawling through the behind the scenes of Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
I've probably watched the behind the scenes more than the actual movies, and that really has inspired me just to learn more about filmmaking. And I'll do a few videos here and there on the side. So it's just one of those, like, I just couldn't get enough. Age 11 or 12, whenever those came out, I fucking could not get enough of that shit.
I remember that. I mean, like, I very rarely would kind of delve that deep into a movie, but the amount of content that they had on those, I remember getting
good content as well.
The special edition, like the extended edition, like the 3-pack.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, I remember getting that. It came out with this is back in DVD time, and it was like 5 DVDs per per
with a booklet
movie.
And
mate, I monstered through those. I would watch the commentary. I would watch the the behind the scenes. Like I just, some of my favorite facts were the guys that were doing chain mail links for God knows how many years, and like that kind of shit. I could not get enough of it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's you know what? As much as I love, sorry, this is a bit of final little tangent, and then we'll wrap it up. One thing I really miss about physical medium is the packaging. Like those Lord of the Rings, they were so well put together, and it really added to the experience. You'd sort of pop it on your shelf and you'd be so proud, like, this is mine. And now, it's just so disposable. Like, I've got Ultron, I've got heaps of Marvel stuff on my Apple TV. I just don't feel like it's really mine, though. So I miss that, but it's all for convenience now.
When the world turns to shit, when the oceans dry up and they're knocking at your door, at least you have your Blu-rays in your hand.
Yeah. My CDs, my old metal CDs.
In the Mad Max future.
Thanks for your question, Joel. That was a really good one. Hopefully we satisfied you there. Guys, if you've got a question, hit us up on all the social medias. We will answer it. Don't you worry. Go check out our Shazam review. Infinity War commentary coming soon. It's all gravy, man. Don't you worry about it. We'll be back next week.
Fuck was that?
It's his new catchphrase.
Did you just have some kind of otherworldly experience?
I did.
It's all gravy, man.
It's all gravy, man.
We just lost George there for a second. Fuck
I'm a crazy bastard. See you later, Connor.
Bye.
See you, Benny.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.